This is Farming Simulator, and my primary goal on this particular map is to construct an oil empire. The problem is, I'm starting with absolute zero in the account. To even commence drilling, I'll need to acquire the initial pump, which costs a staggering $80,000. I have no rigs, no heavy equipment, just this small mower, a sea of grass, and a few trees. The plan is simple. I literally have to mow my way to wealth. Let's get started. First, I'm setting up a working zone near the selling point so I don't waste time on travel. The machine is not a speed demon, and every bit of grass fills it up instantly. This is merely the inception of my ambitious endeavor, hence I must swiftly acquire funds for a chainsaw, which I will then utilize to fell the numerous trees scattered across the entire map. These funds will enable me to accumulate even greater wealth, thereby accelerating my progress towards establishing my ultimate objective, an oil empire. I did lose a bit of money here by mowing with a full basket, but as you can now plainly see, I'm already driving to the selling point and beginning to unload my mower. I am truly curious how much money I will make at the very start, since that will directly determine the speed of my advancement. As you can see, I've got my first $176. That's already a pretty decent sum, all things considered. I'll need $1,000 for the chainsaw, which means I estimate I'll have to make approximately 8 more passes across the grass to finally earn enough for my much anticipated saw. My mower's second basket is already completely full. I made sure not to repeat the previous error of driving across the lawn with a full basket, which likely would have cost me double that amount again. But now it's in the process of unloading, and I'm eagerly anticipating another €176 to be deposited into my account. I'll likely interchange euros and dollars throughout, yet it's hardly an issue, given that in Farming Simulator, all monetary units are converted on a one-to-one basis, meaning there's essentially no distinct separation between various currencies. This is purely a graphical effect. And now, at this very moment, we're already progressing to the next significant point in our ongoing adventure. Thus, once more, we'll continue to mow the grass until we've accumulated €1,000. As you can see, I've completely depleted the grass in the section I initially cleared, which meant I needed to begin working on a fresh area. And once again, I've committed the very same error. I'm driving around with a full basket, pointlessly squandering both the grass and the valuable money that, metaphorically speaking, is contained within it. So now, what comes next? Everything needs to be turned in. I had planned to swiftly check something at the shop, but then I realized I already knew the cost of the specific item I wanted to buy. I was referring to the chainsaw used for cutting timber, naturally. And so, we're off once more, heading back to deliver all the grass we just mowed, and by doing so, we earn another €176. I have absolutely no time to waste, so I must really accelerate my work right now. This series isn't just about mowing grass. My true aspiration is to forge an oil empire. Therefore, we cannot spend an excessive amount of time on the grass. This provides a decent foundation for income, but it's clearly insufficient and the pace is quite slow. Therefore, I must achieve my initial target of €1,000 as quickly as possible. This amount will enable me to purchase a chainsaw, which I need for cutting and felling trees. So now, as you can plainly see, we've accumulated €700. We're very nearly at our goal. All we need to do is drive over and sell the grass 2 additional times. I certainly mean a full basket. That's why I'm not wasting any time. I'm getting to work, not paying attention to whether everything is perfectly even or not. That's not the point here. We need to be as efficient as possible, not flashy. Therefore, as you can probably observe, I've already reached my initial goal of 1,000, but I most certainly won't leave this rather unsightly patch looking quite like that, so I'm going to tackle it immediately. It has already been mowed by me, and another 1,000, plus an additional €176, is landing right into my account. And finally, what I've been waiting for has happened. I can finally buy myself a chainsaw. Now I just have to select which one I'd like to have, but I'm thinking I won't complicate things too much. I possess a great many of them due to the extensive number of mods I own, but I will most likely opt for an item from the base game. Something I know will definitely work, because you never know with these mods. Therefore, I can now calmly approach and pick out a tree of my choice. I have an abundance of them and I can simply walk up to any one of them and begin to mow it down. Actually, to cut it down. So what now? Here's my very first tree that I'm going to cut. As you can see, this isn't proving to be overly difficult. I'm promptly removing its trunk so that absolutely nothing remains, ensuring peace and tidiness prevail on my farm. I also won't bother trimming the branches, as it doesn't significantly impact the price. And with that, my very first tree is now being delivered to the selling point. Fortunately, as you can clearly observe, the selling point has absolutely no boundaries, and just like that, we're earning our initial sum of almost 3,000. As you can clearly observe, this presents a very swift method for accumulating a substantial amount of money. As you can plainly see, I've already managed to fell my second tree. I had hoped it would land perfectly at the selling point, but regrettably, that didn't happen. So, using super strength, I'm pushing it forward. As you can see, for some reason, the selling point doesn't want to take my tree. Something unseen might be blocking it, something the game isn't showing. Well, that's standard in Farming Simulator, that something is always not working. And so, my second tree now makes its way to the selling point. I'll quickly sell it. Now it's time for the next one. Another tree is waiting. I really need to generate income quickly, since this particular series isn't focused on felling trees or harvesting grass. We are looking to commence oil extraction as quickly as we can. But as you're surely aware, substantial profits are always accompanied by considerable costs. However, there's nothing we can really do about that, so we just have to continue playing the game. Therefore, I am now proceeding to sell my third tree. I have successfully accumulated 8,000 in my account. I am now prepared to head over to the store and acquire my very first machine. But first, I need to consult the production menu to ascertain the precise cost of the most affordable sawmill, specifically the one that will enable me to process and produce various items from the timber I've harvested from my trees. That'll be an even better way to make money. I'll earn even more. Right now, I am actively seeking out the one that I find most appealing. I initially believed it was priced at approximately 10,000, but it is in fact 20,000, leaving us with a remaining deficit of 11,839. Still. But that will have to wait for later. For now, I must concentrate on earning money, yet to prevent things from becoming too monotonous, I will purchase my very first tractor and begin working in the fields. You see, it's not the simplest decision, yet I'm selecting my absolute favorite tractor. It's incredibly affordable, and remarkably, it boasts over 300 horsepower. Therefore, my next step is simply to locate the perfect suitable mower attachment for it. And I have a really big selection because of how much power it has. This is the tractor I've always used. I had to quickly group my mods because I couldn't find my way around all this. I was specifically seeking a particular mower that wasn't visible, so I'm unsure of the reason, but this one bears a resemblance, so I will acquire it. I'll swiftly attach it to my tractor and then we'll make our way to the field. We can't afford to waste a single moment. However, it seems we're about to lose a little more time now. As you might have noticed, I made a mistake. I ended up buying the incorrect mower, and now I'm forced to return it. I incurred significant financial losses from having leased the previous one, which I now must give back without compensation, and consequently, I am compelled to lease another new one. Fortunately, this one actually works quite well. It has a significantly smaller working area, but that's just how it is. The main thing is that it functions. Now I'm attempting to meticulously outline the field I'm cultivating as uniformly as possible, yet as always, it doesn't quite go according to plan. Now I urgently need to mow this entire field as quickly as possible, aiming to minimize any time lost because my anticipation is truly immense and I simply can't wait any longer. To commence the extraction of crude oil from the ground. It has already been more than 8 minutes and we haven't even commenced yet, so it would truly be beneficial to finally get started on this endeavor. Well now, as you can plainly see, we're certainly making progress and drawing nearer. Things are moving quickly, so there's no time to be wasted. Up above you can notice that the time is accelerated by a factor of 5, which means each single minute is 20 seconds in farming. So what's next? We are now slowly approaching the finish line, and soon we'll be able to begin forming neat, orderly rows with all of our freshly cut grass. As you can observe, we have already completed the grass cutting. Therefore, I am now quickly acquiring a machine that will create neat rows for us, which we can then proceed to bale. As you can plainly observe, this machine is quite large in its dimensions. It gathers everything nicely. There won't be any problems in the future, because we'll definitely be keeping it for a long time. Alright, I've got to swiftly create these rows right now, ensuring there won't be any complications later when I'm pressing this grass. You'll see later on how I accelerate the baling process for myself. I certainly won't be baling everything separately first and then wrapping it, because our main objective here is to generate the largest possible quantity of silage, which we will subsequently be able to market for a substantial profit. Well, as you can plainly see, I've acquired a baler that conveniently wraps the bales it produces all by itself. Well, just like I said at the very beginning, and have repeated many times over the last 10 minutes, we're not primarily concerned with farming operations here. Our main objective is to establish an oil-based empire. Therefore, well, we will not be wasting time on these side missions. We're heading straight for our main objective. And in my opinion, this has already been dragging on for far too long. There has to be a quicker solution. If you'd be interested in seeing in the future just how straightforward it is to accomplish such a task without the need for leasing, so please write in the comments below. I will certainly do something like that, as many individuals assert that leasing is a scam. However, this particular game is constructed in such a way that it remains equally straightforward, regardless of whether you opt for leasing or not. Consequently, it doesn't really pose a significant issue or major challenge. And now that we've completed the task of creating our bales, we can proceed to the next step of felling another tree. As you can clearly observe, it is indeed quite straightforward. I'm essentially repeating the same process, nothing too complex about it. This time around, I'm felling multiple trees simultaneously, which saves me from constantly moving each one, returning, and then cutting again. Therefore, you'll see that the whole thing takes an extremely brief period of time. If my calculations are accurate, we should earn approximately 10,000 euros, which will provide a substantial cash boost for us. But we shall see in just a moment if it turns out that something is amiss. In this game, there's always something wrong. And of course, this time one tree doesn't want to sell for some reason, but, well, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So now I'm quickly jumping into the tractor to resume the mowing phase of my grass on this particular map, getting it all done efficiently. Indeed, there's no time to be wasted. It's imperative that we act promptly. I must, as quickly as possible and in the near future, secure ownership of an oil empire. Therefore, I'm going to quickly begin by designating the exact area where I'll be mowing the grass. I just have to move these bales that I left here. I didn't think about starting to mow somewhere else. But okay, now I quickly need to finish mowing this patch of grass that was left looking so ugly. I really dislike seeing it like that. So, well, let's just get it done. I'll just finish it up nicely right here, even though I'm wasting time on it. However, a certain degree of order must always be maintained on this farm. As you can clearly see, this is progressing quite rapidly for me actually. I currently have a good mower, but I'll need a slightly bigger one later. I don't envision this becoming a problem, not once I ultimately start making significant money from oil. However, for the moment, but for now I must manage with the resources currently available to me. So yes, I'll finish this up in just a moment. Finally, I truly can't wait until I no longer have to mow the grass personally and can instead simply hire workers for that task. I'll be able to pay someone for it because I'll have a lot of money from oil. Now we urgently need to make the rows. This should be quicker, as I won't have to be quite so precise. I'll just drive over what's in front of me. Plus, this machine is a bit broader, so it can collect grass from a wider area, which we'll soon bale, and that'll be that. This will allow for more efficiency in our operation, saving both time and resources in the long run. We'll patiently await its transformation into silage, which we can then sell at a significantly higher price. This is because once we have accumulated enough for the machine that bundles our grass, there's absolutely no point in selling it in its current state any longer. It's far more beneficial to simply wait out those 2 in-game months, and then you can really begin to generate some significant income from silage rather than from plain grass. It's a much more effective method. It truly always works. So if you're ever at a loss for how to kick off your gameplay, just focus on grass and silage. That's truly all you'll require. And as you can plainly see, it's progressing quite smoothly. This machine, which creates our bales and subsequently wraps them, is truly quite astonishing. It's super cheap, but how effective is it really? You can see right here how quickly I got this done. There are no problems with it at all. Well, I guess there shouldn't be, because it's just a game. Nothing is supposed to break here. But, as you know, that's how it is with farming. Now that I've finished this, I'm moving on to setting up, I'm really pondering over this one, to construct the greenhouses. This will also be very important. I hope they work as I expect. I'm also creating a rather nice pedestrian pathway here because I really want my farm to have a pleasing appearance. These 2 strips aren't perfectly even, but they'll absolutely have to suffice for now. I'll swiftly get our greenhouse operational, then I'm setting it up for selling. I truly hope that it'll be just as I thought and we'll make a lot of money. And drum roll please. Well, I think we actually lost 2,000, so something is wrong with these greenhouses. Let's see. I return to slumber once more to simulate the passage of an additional month. Let's see what the outcome will be. We've made a bit of profit, but it wasn't quite what I had in mind, and very soon we'll need to figure out another method to quickly generate more income. And now we're selling our silage. As you can see, this selling point is a bit faulty because I have to center everything perfectly. But, well, let's just say for the sake of it, I'm also going to sell these broken greenhouses right away. As you can see, I've managed to recover a significant amount of money. I now possess 17,000, so with just a bit more, we'll be able to acquire our very own walking sawmill. This purchase will undoubtedly unlock fresh opportunities, elevating us to the next level in terms of income generation, and substantially paving the way for the oil empire we're constructing right here. Therefore, this series will essentially be titled Through the Trees to an Empire. Over here, we still have a few bales remaining. Let's make it snappy. Come on, quickly now. There's no time to spare. So you're witnessing this unfold significantly quicker than I did when it was actually happening. But I truly hope that this arrangement works for you all, because if we were really to sit here in actual real time, just as I did, we would genuinely be conversing for a full 2 hours about absolutely nothing at all. Therefore, I am now swiftly proceeding to chop down some trees. And here, we're already cutting down the second tree. Each individual tree yields approximately 5,000 liters of material at the sawmill, so I will need to fell 10 of these. I'm removing all the stumps right away because I'll probably want to create a field here someday, or maybe I'll build my oil empire on this side, and they'll just get in the way. Now I will test if, similar to the selling point, only a single tree remains here, or if the game itself is fundamentally broken, or perhaps there's something specific amiss with these particular trees. Well, I would strongly suspect that this is the fault of the game or the mods. But oh well. It's important that at least something is working out. And so, we're felling more trees. Now it's time to arrange them all, trying to get them reasonably straight and even. Alright, that's done. No problems at all here. My super strength is truly very beneficial during times like these. We don't have to waste time and money on machines. As you can see, a tree was left behind. I don't know why that happens, but I'm not going to worry about it. Now I will quickly organize production. I'll simply verify what is most advantageous to manufacture, and then choose those 2 particular items that prove to be the most optimal choices. I will simply set these up as active productions and then get them ready for immediate selling. So, we've achieved our first success. Now I simply need to select a brand new tractor that I can attach a brand new mower to, allowing me to begin cutting the grass without delay. In the meantime, I'm also picking out a cultivator because it will definitely come in handy. After all, we're on a farm, so yeah, we'll do a bit of farming. That's why I purchased this cultivator, which I'll be attaching to my old tractor. I will quickly outline the dimensions of the field, determining its precise size. I plan to sow some wheat right here, to make sure my chickens will have plenty to eat, as I also aim to invest in them, since I anticipate having a good amount of money left over by the episode's conclusion. Alright, so I'm bringing in an employee. I can finally afford to have someone help me out with the work. I'm connecting to the large brand new tractor. I'm attaching 2 new mowers, one on the front and one on the back, to speed up the work. I also commenced my work on the field I designated previously. As you'll notice, the operational area is substantially bigger. The worker is more precise, so at this moment I am able to simply sit and observe everything that is taking place here. There are no problems with them, they work correctly. Of course, these are workers from a mod. They aren't from the base game because, you see, I just don't get along well with those from the base game, but let's not squander our time. Let's fast forward to the exact moment when all the work in the field has been completely finished and done. As you can see, let's take a quick look at how the worker is currently operating, diligently cultivating the field to prepare it for our wheat harvest. And at this point, I really feel there's no further need to continue observing this. Let's just move right along to the sowing process. However, prior to that, we absolutely must construct a suitable shelter for our vehicles. So I'm just going to quickly mark out the area where the shed will be located. This will mark our very first farm building within this series, undoubtedly the initial one of many, so I now need to locate one with the exact ideal height to comfortably accommodate my mowers. This one appears to be quite suitable. We'll give it a test run momentarily, and oh, it functions absolutely flawlessly. I'm incredibly pleased that I managed to avoid hitting the roof with the mower, allowing us to proceed without any further complications. Now all that remains for us to accomplish is to acquire a seeder, cultivate the field, and meticulously arrange the grass into rows. So let's get right to it. I'll take one that's, well, not too expensive, a slightly cheaper seeder, because it doesn't have to be anything super special for a start. I've acquired the appropriate fillings for it now. Fertilizer, together with the grain, or more precisely the seeds, I'm just quickly filling everything up. Thus, I can now readily employ a worker to handle this task on my behalf. I'll shift my attention to something different. At this moment, you can observe how creating windrows appears from an aerial perspective. As you can see, the worker is doing a great job. This machine is also awesome. It works well even with large. It even performs excellently with larger mowers, so there isn't any issue. It was indeed a sound investment from the very beginning. And then, in just a little while, we will be returning to the important task of sowing the fields. Let's see what it looks like from a bird's eye view. I don't know, I really like this perspective. You can tell me what you think of it. Well, this is precisely how it appears when we consider the act of sowing grass seeds. Given that I am sowing wheat, which is a type of grain, I also need to purchase some more chickens, so very soon it will be time for us to decide which chicken coop we will choose. And for how many chickens. But before I do that, I need to make some modifications on my farm. More specifically, I need to get a designated area ready for this chicken coop, so at this moment I'm taking the tool that paints the terrain. Firstly, I'll also decide which chicken coop I'm going to get and how large it will be, so I'm well informed on that decision. I'll also check out other things that are available in the shop. I also considered sheep since it would be easy to feed them with grass. However, as I had initially envisioned, my decision ultimately gravitates towards acquiring chickens. I'm also currently creating a designated area for them, ensuring everything is neatly labeled. It doesn't need to be too big, because the chicken coop won't be huge. It should be appropriate for the current game state, meaning I'm envisioning something quite compact, possibly even veering a bit more towards a moderate dimension. We'll see in just a moment which one we happen to get and which one will suit this rectangular space most optimally. So now also, there are many options. I have a lot of mods, but I'll choose this one, which will provide a clear view of all the chickens. Meanwhile, I've assigned a worker to produce bales for us, and then neatly wrap them. This ensures we'll have the maximum possible amount of silage collected by the close of today. Because I'm truly eagerly anticipating the moment I can finally install my very first pump. For crude oil. So what happens next now? Quickly. We quickly make the bales, wrap them up, and then move on. Therefore, we buy the chickens and also the feed for them. I then purchased the maximum number of chickens, and now I just have to feed them all. If my memory serves me correctly, they consume about 15,000 liters of feed, so it's quite fortunate that I've cultivated such a vast field and planted it with suitable seeds, perfectly anticipating their needs. As you can see, I'm spending the rest of my money. Well, almost the rest. I also need to have something in the stash, just in case something bad happens along the way. I have just under 2,500 left. I'm quickly filling up my chickens, if you will. I'll take that conceptual shortcut you see to clarify. So what? Let's keep going. This is the last bag we need to give our chickens. The chickens will be content and will enjoy fresh eggs. Now let's swiftly get back to what we were doing. We don't have time. As I always say, I'm constantly rushing to start earning substantial money as swiftly as I can. By the close of today, the objective is quite unambiguous. Getting the initial pump installed, then starting to generate the first earnings from crude oil, what could possibly be more rewarding or lucrative than that? All of that will simply be a pleasant added benefit. And at last the moment has arrived when everything is completed. Since the field has been sown and the bales are wrapped, we can now commence simulating the subsequent days. So, as you can plainly see, I've managed to accumulate $283,000 through timber production, which means I am now in a position to acquire my very first set of pumps. You see, these are generators, so I won't have to do anything with them. So I'm simulating another day to see if they're really working, if it's worth it. As you can clearly see, my earnings almost doubled, and this remarkable profit was solely thanks to these 3 pumps. Please let me know in the comments what the professional term for them is, as I'm not entirely sure what to call them. Thus, I am presently searching for additional ones. These are indeed sizable oil pumps. Well, things have changed a bit. I remember them differently from the last farming simulator. Now they require water and diesel, which strikes me as a bit odd, as I was under the impression that they typically operated on electric power. And in the previous farming simulator game, they for sure solely operated on air, so that made it far too easy. However, in this situation we will need to put in a bit of effort, as we're going to require a pump which is not just a generator. Instead, it is a genuine factory. We will be required to provide it with diverse things. In this specific situation, they're simply just oil barrels, so it will probably be quite time consuming and monotonous, but thankfully it's not difficult. I'll also construct some access roads right here leading to my pumps, to my small empire, so I believe we've now unlocked our very first accomplishment, a miniature empire. Now all that's left for me to do is locate some oil barrels. You'll notice that purchasing them via the production menu turns out to be quite costly. It's absolutely not cost effective, therefore I'll have to handle all of this manually. However, it appears that locating them within the store isn't straightforward at all. I will therefore be obliged to meticulously search for them by hand, identifying them by their designated name, as they are nowhere to be seen prominently displayed. You see, one costs 20 units, holds about 159 liters, and we require 15,000 in total, so I quickly had to figure out precisely how many I would need. As you can clearly see, I'm going to need a substantial quantity of these, roughly around 2,000, I'd estimate. Consequently, this whole endeavor will undoubtedly consume a considerable amount of time. Therefore, to not take up any more of your time, which would definitely be quite dull to watch, I will simply complete everything here myself, and you will then witness the final result. Therefore, we simply won't be spending our precious time on such unimportant things. Immediately after filling it up, I began simulating the passage of time. As you can see, my earnings weren't much greater than usual, primarily because I still lack a small refinery, which would then allow it to distribute diesel to the main pumps. Firstly, it needs to be produced by extracting crude oil from the smaller pump. It then takes that crude oil, refines it into diesel fuel, and subsequently dispatches it to the larger pump. That pump sends the crude oil back to the refinery, and then this smaller refinery is going to be producing a variety of other petroleum products, which are considerably more profitable than merely the crude oil itself. Therefore, let's go ahead and select diesel to see if this is all working. We select it to ensure it distributes directly to our large pump. It seems the time simulation malfunctioned there, so I had to click it once more. To the large pump. Currently, I've set it to selling, just to verify functionality, but we will alter that setting later. Now it's time to sell all the eggs that our wonderful chickens have produced for us. They actually laid them, but you get the gist. I will use these terms interchangeably sometimes. I have to set everything up again in the middle of this selling point. I'm considering just selling it for a better one. Because I've accumulated close to 700,000 now, I'm free to invest in whatever ventures I choose, exactly as I please. Financially, I'm no longer constrained, so we're going to strategically invest these resources into the continued expansion of our modest little empire. I really need to quickly find everything here. I'm adding 2 small pumps at this very moment. So I'm going to add another big pump now so that I can make even more money, significantly more money. Everything fits together nicely. I should also invest a bit in generators, because why not? It is always just some additional free money, you could say. Now it's crucial to properly arrange all the productions to ensure their efficient collaboration. And I must also discover the most advantageous prices, then properly configure the compact refinery to both manufacture and then sell whatever yields the greatest profit. I won't be utilizing trucks here to sell off all the products simply because, honestly, the difference in price, whether I sell it myself or if it's sold through production, is not significant enough to warrant my concern or preoccupation. And now it's time for us to begin spending money on our farm, which is quite exciting. First off, I need to buy myself a nice harvester. I won't start with the most expensive ones, I'll just get a medium one. I still possess more than 120,000, so I'm able to afford to lease practically any harvester available. However, there's absolutely no reason to go overboard with it. One must also try to keep a certain level of... Well, you just can't advance too rapidly because it would become excessively dull and the game would conclude very quickly. So now I have to do some harvesting. I'm doing it myself because it's a new machine, so I want to drive it a bit. I'm not just going to hand it over to a worker right away. As you can plainly see, the field appears almost perfect. It will be mowed in only 2 swift passes. This way, I will be able to feed my chickens, ensuring they continue to produce eggs consistently. So what now? Let's go. Feed them. Well, as you can see, this is going to take a bit of time. I'm not sure why, but this harvester seems to be malfunctioning or something, as it's taking an awfully long time. But we've got everything filled up now, so we won't need to do anything further because from what I've observed, it's already completely full. The feeders for the chickens are all completely full now, so we can finally move on to the next task. We're making our last pass through the field. So, what's next? I believe we should simply sell this off to effectively resolve the issue at hand. But to keep things from getting boring, besides the chickens, we need to add some more animals to our farm. With our considerable financial resources, I opted for something rather expensive, namely cows. You can clearly see it. The cowshed itself was quite an expensive investment, so now we'll neatly pave around it with asphalt. This will ensure smooth driving access all around, preventing any issues with reaching it. We'll be able to create a pleasant circular path, needing only a single access road. And that is precisely why I am currently in the process of purchasing cows for my farm. Well, I certainly can't purchase 150 straight away as I simply can't afford it, but I do believe that having at least 50 would be quite sufficient. As you can plainly see, I've acquired a self-loading bale trailer for myself. There was another one standing in the background there. Unfortunately, that was my mistake. I didn't really want to show this anymore because what would be the purpose, but I did buy it. A trailer designed to collect rectangular bales, specifically the square ones, rather than the round bales. So then... Oh well, now we have to quickly collect all this. I hope it all fits on one trailer. I truly feel that it ought to be quite sufficient. Based on what I'm observing here, there definitely won't be any issues, so... I won't have to collect any of these individually, so it truly fit in perfectly. And then surprisingly, another fresh batch of 3 was discovered. Despite a few minor issues, I successfully managed to enter the cowshed, as you can observe. Now I just need to get into a good position and unload the food for our cows. Well, there's not much room under the roof here, but everything fits in perfectly. Now the question is, will we be able to drive out successfully? And listen up, well, unfortunately we got ourselves a little bit stuck. If we can't get out this way, we probably won't get back either. So yeah, I cheated a little here, but I had to reset everything. And if you're interested in knowing exactly how much profit I'll be making from my crude oil production, my cattle, and all the other ventures, please subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for the upcoming episode.